All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Still sounding like brother in Red Fox. In any event, it is 5:55 p.m. Man, I be on this on some lucky times. Man, that's the lotto number. Really quick, I just want to admit something. Now that I'm actually publishing these on dreamthinkdesign.com, and I really like the way that the site is developing too, by the way. I'm really excited about the look and feel of the site. If you haven't taken a moment to go to http:// you should take a moment and do so. I have revamped the site and I've made it more simple, or more simplistic rather. I've taken away all of the text content, and I'm really sticking to this audio content approach, because I know, like right now I'm in a car. I just got finished, just dropped my son off for today, and I can share my world with you all, with myself, especially in the future, coming from the past, so that I can make a better decision in that present time. And then also all of those who stumble upon these tapes, good afternoon. I appreciate you. Wanted to take a quick moment before I admit what I was going to admit before, and just say I love you, especially to myself listening to this. I really love you. I thank you. You're on a great track, and you're headed towards success. Just keep it up. I'm grateful for this day. It was warm outside today, and as I was driving, I was looking at everybody running on the sidewalk, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to get my shoes on and get outside and hit that pavement and get on this 3-mile jog. Because I had stopped because my throat injury that's healing, but I want to get back out there, so I'm like scurrying away in the car right now, like scrambling to try to get back while there's still some good sunlight out, to get some good wind in me. I do a 3-mile jog. It's actually like 2.8 miles. I try to make it, between 2.8 and 3.1 every day. And I've actually been doing that, folks, since it's 2017. Today is, I didn't say the date, did I? It is November the 2nd. And I've been running about 3 to 4 miles a day ever since. I think I was on a project. Let's talk about that for a second before I get into admitting whatever before I testify against myself, before I snitch or whatever. But I was running, actually, let's talk about this. I was 150 pounds heavier about 3 years ago. I think I was at my project in Hickory, North Carolina. So shouts out to all of my folks in Hickory, North Carolina. Those were the warmest people that I've ever met in my entire IT experience. I mean, just the whole town filled with very warm, very open, very genuine people. And this is Hickory, North Carolina. And at the time, 2017, so that was maybe 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. And I started that project, and I mean, it was, and as I think about it, that was a project with Alex Lee. So shouts out to all of my people that work at Alex Lee. Because again, when you talk about like and I think that was like a turning point in my career, because I know some of these tapes I've kind of gotten into like the ups, and I think one of the tapes before this one I kind of really got into like the downs, and but in any event, that project at Alex Lee in Hickory, North Carolina was the turning point, for my IT career, because I mean, from the very start, maybe because it was more of a rural town, like country, or whatever the case may have been, but it was just, I just really enjoyed that place. If I were to say, like, if there was a place for me to live that wasn't the city, I would want a town like Hickory, North Carolina. I mean, that says a lot, in terms of the people. So I started that project at Alex Lee, and I'm keeping with the professional privacy of all of the people that I've done work with. I'm not gonna say their names, but they, again, very good people. I mean, everybody that I worked with at Alex Lee, when I worked with them, they were very good people. And there's one individual specifically that is probably responsible for at least me starting my weight loss journey. And I would love to say his name, but because I don't necessarily have his permission at this point, I'm not going to say it. But I will say he was the director at Alex Lee, their IT department. And this guy is a genius when it comes to management, because his charisma, it was warm and inviting, and he was a runner. His family, he had some daughters, or have some daughters, and he raised them to be runners. He was actually, he ran with some of the people at Alex Lee. And when I had got the project and I had first met him, again, man, just a very good guy, man. Like I'm talking like this is probably the best project that I've had in terms of like corporate environment, like, cause I've worked with some good people in terms of like startups and things of that nature nowadays, but back in the past, I used to only work for like corporations, large corporations, and that was probably the best corporation. If it wasn't me, right, if I wasn't the entrepreneur like I am, then I probably would have settled at Alex Lee. And interestingly enough, everybody that worked at Alex Lee that was there had been there for like 10, 15, 20 years. And it makes sense because everybody there was just so warm, man. And it just sends a good feeling deep inside of me just thinking about it right now. And started the project, and I was like 150 pounds, like almost 300 pounds. And the guy was looking at me, he was like, when I started the project, I'll say this, when I started the project, the team lead quit, so it was just me. And they had a team, and they were actually developing an inventory grocery store application, or an application for grocery stores that manages inventory. And, I was working with like their subsidiaries, and, which is Lowe's Foods in North Carolina. And they were just all around good people. But the point that I'm making about Alex Lee and Hickory is, first, because the people were so warm, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed my stay there. I had a small, I think it was, what was it? It was, I'm trying to remember the name of the kind of, house setup it was. A studio. Had me a small studio, maybe like 3 or 4 miles from the place. And it really felt like home. I will say it felt like home. It really did. I mean, the people that I lived around, they were all inviting, all just, and you would think, I stay in Atlanta right now, and Atlanta feels to me like more like New York City than what people say when they come to Atlanta, from the north. They like, oh, the people in Atlanta are so warm, or, it's the South and it's the country and this and that. And I'm like, BS. And when I'm here, it's like, first of all, most of the people that I've talked to, especially nowadays, they say that they don't even know native Atlanteans. One guy that when I was doing at the coder school, when I had interviewed for that position, he was saying some crazy number, like maybe 8 out of the 10 people he meet, are foreigners, so to speak. They're not from Atlanta. But in any case, so I'm, going back to Hickory and Alex Lee, I started the project, the team lead left, and, it was just me, and it was a really cool project. They gave me a lot of breathing space. They were not micromanagers, and I had a manager, and she wasn't a micromanager either. She trusted me, and, when I finally met the director, he took, he looked at me, and we instantly hit it off, because he's like a coach. He kind of gave off that coach vibe, and so I told him I wanted to start running, jogging, and he was like, cool. And let me tell you what this guy did, people. This guy took me personally. He took me, the day that I told him I wanted to start running, he was like, okay, follow me. He literally took me to a running store, like where they make shoes, immediately. Like, it wasn't during the lunch hour or anything. Like, he just took me straight there. And he, he got me in there. They signed me up they sized my shoes. They had me run, and it was legit. It was really legit. And, and it really motivated me to really do it. And so I got a good pair of shoes, and he personally gave me, his time every morning from that point forward to meet me at the local college track to run with me. And I was like, I had never had anybody, period, who had took the time out to work with me specifically about, a goal that I had, that it didn't cost me any money. He didn't charge me to do it. He didn't say, hey, you got to make sure you compensate me for my time. He was like, no, I run every morning. And this guy was running, like, I think some crazy number, like he's like a long distance runner. He was running every morning like 8-9 miles. And before he would do that, he would ride his bike from his house to the track. And that was like another 20 miles. And then the guy was doing like, he said after he got finished running or riding his bike and then running, he would do he would swim like some insane number, like 1,000 laps. And this guy was over 50. And so that, that really started my journey. At that point, I had started running, and, it just kind of took off, and so when I left the project, I had stopped running as much, but that was like the start, cause then right after that project, I went to Cleveland, Tennessee, and that's when I actually got my personal trainer. And when I got my personal trainer, she was, again, just like that, just like the director, like, my personal coach. And so what I want to say about that whole thing is what I want to say about that whole thing is like, if you really, really want to lose weight, and this is, I'm just sharing it with, this is on my mind, so I'll share it, because this is what I did, and I lost almost 150 pounds over 3 years. So if you really, really want to lose weight, this is how I did it. I didn't sit down and read a whole bunch of books on how to lose weight. I didn't spend a whole bunch of time and money trying to sit around and talk to people. What I did was I said, all right, I'm going to do this, and I tried it. So I started running with the guy I was telling you about in Hickory, and then we were running. I had lost like 50 pounds then, because I was doing that over a year, and so I had already started losing weight. And then when I had got to Cleveland, I got a personal trainer. I just made an investment. So if you really want to lose weight, you need a coach. I mean, just think about it. If you're listening to this, my throat is so dry, excuse me. And I got one of these like Ricola. I'm going to pop me another one. Hold on. So yes, if you think about it, everybody, if you're listening to this, think about when you were in high school, or even when you were in college, especially if you were participating in something like a team sport or something like that. One of the main reasons why, if you had success, you got it, was because your coach and the team. I had wrote a book called Rich and Fat, and this is kind of, I had it was a whole section that I wrote that kind of detailed accountability. And so I kind of got into accountability from a different perspective, because what I was saying in the book is basically this: if it's one thing to say, hey, I got a goal and I want to do it. There's another thing when you involve somebody else in that process, and then that person, whoever that person or group of people are like invested in your success in some way. When I was at Alex Lee, excuse me, the director was invested in my success because, if as long as I can stay healthy, I'm going to have good code. I'm going to program well. My blood's going to be, pumping. I'm going to have, oxygen in my brain so that I can think. And so it was in his best interest, and he was doing it already, so why not? And then it created some camaraderie between us. I got to know him. We were talking. I got to know about him and his family, and that guy he was at Alex Lee for almost 30 years or some crazy number like that, or whatever. And so then when I got a personal trainer, I invested, and she was invested in the process too, because she was really motivated about the weight loss that I was. She would give me tips and tricks and, custom workouts and, just the whole bit. And so that's what I'm saying. So if you really, really, really are serious about losing weight, stop trying to do it yourself. Just cease and desist with trying to lose weight yourself. If you are trying to lose over 50 pounds, you need help. I mean, let's face it. If you need to lose 25 pounds, you need help. So if you're serious, get it. Pay for it. It's worth it. One of the things that I'm going to be paying for this year is my teeth. Because I'm a communicator. So when I open my mouth, I want those pearly whites to show. I don't want any cavities. I don't want any, broken teeth or anything like that. I want everything to be, fixed and ready to rock. And so instead of just sitting around, hoping, wishing, and praying for it, no, I'm going to make it the investment, and I'm going to do it. That's a primary goal that I have. And as I shared my have list with you on the previous tape, I know I said it because it's definitely a goal, and it's not just something that I'm going to talk about. It's something that I am actually going to be putting my money where my mouth is. So again, if you're serious about losing weight, stop sitting around reading books and pontificating about it. Actually get up and go get somebody's help. So that's what I'll say about that. There were some other things that I had on my mind today. I had a conversation, with a good friend. And, as she was talking, she was kind of making some statements about money and the lack thereof. And I had made a statement to her, and I said, one of the main reasons why you are having a lack in that department is because you constantly talk about not having money. And I can't remember the quote or who said it, but I know that, I was listening to one of Les Brown's tapes, and he was talking about what you talk about the most is what you expand in your life. what you replicate and expand in your life. So whatever it is that you're talking about, if you're talking about not having money, then that's what you're going to be replicating and expanding in your life. That's what I told her. And she kind of looked at me with those glazed over eyes. But it's actually the truth. And so there's a book, because I just wanted to put this on record, called Dollars Want Me. And that book was written, I think, back at the turn of the century. Let me see who wrote the book. Dollars Want Me was written by Henry Harris Brown. And that book is so important because, like I said, it's like a book that kind of gives a different perspective on how to think about money, and how money it does not have a value in and of itself. It is the human beings, like it is us. Our use of it is what gives money its value. And, and so it talks about having a paradigm shift. There was some other things that I had heard about money in terms of like the psychology of money, and how money is a reflection of a person's self-worth and value of them of themselves. Obviously, if it's self-worth, but the point that I'm making is, and this is what I tried to express to the young lady is that our ability to attract money has a lot to do with what we believe or who we believe we are. And so I just want to take a moment and speak to me, and then for everybody else that's listening, I'm giving you grace, right? So, to myself, you have done a really good job with maintaining your mind in terms of the automatic negative thoughts that you have. What I'm advising you to do is take a moment and really deal with the people that you spend time around the most. Because, I spent time talking to this person, and, there's obviously some certain people and, everybody you won't be able to get rid of in terms of, because some of them might be family, right? Because some people in your life, you just kind of have to, they're in your life. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to kind of make them put them in your inner circle, but, you really have to spend time looking at the kinds of conversation that you have with people, because that conversation, whether you know it or not, affects your ability to attract things to yourself. I'm saying it one more time. Spend a little bit of time thinking about who you talk to the most, and then think about what you talk about. What's the conversation? Because if the conversation isn't, constructive, positive, that kind of deals with attracting something, that you desire in your life, then you really have to kind of, I'm going to use a technical term, refactor that relationship just a little bit, such that you can get what you need and still, maintain and keep faith, because you are the top 5 people you spend the most time with. So just remember that. What I was going to admit before, like way at the beginning of this tape, was, when I get on these, like I find myself like during the day, just trying to think like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? I find myself being really anxious about these tapes now, because now they're published on dreamthinkdesign.com, and I spend a little time, with the album cover and putting it out there, and so I find myself being really, not necessarily overly anxious, but I just kind of think about like, okay, well, what am I going to talk about today? And just like when I had started, when I got on here and I started talking about Alex Lee, and just kind of, I kind of got into a little bit in terms of the weight loss, and then I started talking about, other things. What I want to do in terms of the format for these is I want it to be like this free-flowing monologue Because I have things on my mind that I want to be able to get out, and I don't want to try to structure it so much to the point where it loses its flavor, it loses its pizzazz. And I don't want to do that. And so that's kind of how I'm gonna do these. And I know if you've listened to all the way up to now, you've kind of gotten that a little bit. It may not sound like there isn't like a hard structure, because I tend to communicate succinctly most of the time. And so but I just want to let you know, just for myself, just making a personal note, and then for all of those that's listening to this, that's what this really is. It's a free-flowing monologue, and I have things that I think, because I read a whole bunch and I listen and to my my inner self, and then I listen to others, and it's I'm living life, and so there's things that I want to share. I guess, just to kind of give you all a sense of where I am physically, I was like yawning a whole lot today, because I'm doing a whole lot, and, I've been advised to get more organized. And so, I'm going to be taking more time, just kind of taking a second look at this to-do list that I have. I know I spoke about that yesterday. I think so. I think I spoke about that yesterday on yesterday's tape, and yesterday's tape might not be yesterday when I publish it, so they might not be in that order. But the point that I'm making is I'm if you don't have a book, or at least write your outcomes down, do that, because I've gotten away from mine, and I've actually added more clients to my workload. And if I think that there's going to be some sort of success in my life without having some kind of schedule and organization, I'm fooling myself, and so this is, what I would say to all of, whoever's listening, that again, it's almost like I'm pleading with you to take a second look at your life. Even if you don't have that much going on, you might say, well, hey, D-Ran, I don't have, all the stuff that you got going on, and I may not necessarily you do need a to-do list, because what do you do if you don't know what you're going to do for the day? Then what you, what? That makes no sense. And so, I have to get more organized. So one of the things that I was thinking about is I have to find some way to get that stuff off the pieces of paper that I write on into a more formalized system, so that I can watch it go from 0 to 100. Because maybe I'll just have to think about that. Because one approach is to put my actual outcome, my main outcomes, my 3-month, 6-month goals in some sort of system, and then begin to break that down a little bit. I have to, one thing that I'm going to do here tonight is kind of watch a couple videos, find a couple books, just kind of find some information on how to really create a personal system of success. There was a book called how to create your personal system of success, and it was written by William Clement Stone. And I actually have that book, and I'm like 80% done with that book. And he had some stuff in there that it made sense. But what I find is that most of these books, they have some of the same information in there. Just like the goal settings book. And at the end of his book, he was like, because the title is Goal Setting 13 Secrets to Success. But at the end of the book, he was saying that it's really no secret. I mean, there were 13 principles, because again, there's no secret to how success happens to people. There are principles that govern the universe, just like those same principles govern each person, and those same principles govern the success in each person's life. And so I'm just kind of going back and re-listening to those same principles and finding those same principles in all of the different works. I think one thing that I would like to do is I'm going to be adding autobiographies to my reading. And I'm going to find some autobiographies based on my B list, as in BE, because, being a linguist, being a gymnast, having, being these things, a musician, there's some really famous, really successful people out there who became the exact things that I am seeking to become. So I'm going to be adding those also. And I would also suggest that for anybody that's listening, if you haven't read an autobiography in a while, add one to your reading list. Anything else? This is Thursday, so I'm finding that my there is no rest time. That's one thing I'm gonna say. Like if and this is a note to me, like if you thought that you was gonna rest, and you thought that there was gonna be time for you to sit down and take a break, you are severely mistaken. There's just so much for you to do, and it's just too much that needs to be done, for you to be talking about taking a breather. Your breather is in the game. You need to catch that second wind, because you are actually pushing past. The great thing about my life right now, excuse me, is that I am pushing the limits. Literally, I am pushing myself. I'm pushing the boundaries and the structures that I built around myself. And I'm just pushing the limits of what I think I can do and what I know I can do to just try my hand. And so I'm pushing it right now. So this is, if I ever wanted to sit back and I'm going to listen to this tape over again, like if you ever thought that you was just going to have some time to just sit back and relax, maybe in the next couple years, but right now it's grind time, and you need to really be on that and not get dismayed, not be thinking of what you think you're missing. No, this is the time now for work, for discipline, for perseverance, for patience, for all of the main principles to success. This is the time for it. So I'm gonna, and as I sit here, because I'm in my car, just kind of taking some time to just kind of think. This is like my verbal meditation. And as I just sit and I think, and I'm looking at the clouds and just kind of sit, and as I'm relaxing, I'm just realizing that this is, I actually am enjoying myself too. So there is like, in this work that I'm doing, there is like some fulfillment that I'm able to get that I've never experienced that in the so-called career that I had. And so this is something brand new for me, and I can say honestly and truthfully that this is a brand new space that I'm in right now, just in terms of how I'm pushing myself to do things and to be things that I normally wouldn't be, and I normally wouldn't do. So this is if you wanna find what you like and what you enjoy, do something that you normally wouldn't do. Do something. If you have a career that's getting dull and it's getting boring, try something different. Do something different. You can use your same career. So like if you're working on site, try working off site, working from home. And you'll see immediately how difficult it might be, or how challenging, I should say, and how exciting it'll be. Because once you finally get to work from home, you'll see everything that you've had to do in order to get there. And so it brings just another level of appreciation for the whole process. So So yeah, so I, just taking the time to just say I appreciate you for listening. I give thanks for who you are. I acknowledge the fact that you do a lot of work and that you are taking the time out to nourish yourself even now. When you listen to this in the future and at that present time, I know that this is going to be um, like refreshing because even if you might think that nobody knows or nobody cares, just know that I care and I know exactly what you're doing. And even if there isn't a trophy for all of the great things that you do, like raising your son and doing challenge, pushing your boundaries and your limits, that this is your trophy. One day you're going to look up and Dream Think Design is going to be dreamthinkdesign.com is going to be exactly the way you thought it should be, with the portfolio section looking amazing, with hundreds of these Dreamcasts, and your network in terms of the people, places, and things that you've been able to meet and go and have is going to be tremendous. So, I love you. I give thanks for you and for all of the people that's listening. Hopefully this can serve as some form of inspiration to you, to let you know that there is somebody out there that is pushing the limit in this world of people who are comfortable, and there's somebody out there that's hungry, that in a world full of people that are satiating themselves and gorging themselves every day with junk. And so I just want to say I love you all and I appreciate you. And if for a moment you've allowed your head to drop, do what my dad said and raise it. Until next time.